नमं विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिनिति नामिने नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषशून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशधारिणे हे कृष्ण करुणा सिंधु दीनबंधो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कांत राधा कांत नमोस्तुते तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपासिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा। सो वेलकम बैक ड्यूटीज बिकॉज मैं थोड़ा सा बीमार था, ऐसा देखा जाए तो that's why these days 2-3 days I was unable to upload any lectures. So we have discussed the translation of Srimad Bhagavatam, fifth fifth canto 14th chapter and 18th verse का ट्रांसलेशन हमने चर्चा किया था. This time we will be taking the purport and we will be completing the purport and taking the next verse, which is the 19th verse, tomorrow. So without wasting any time, uh, for the pleasure of the Lord, we will be jumping to the purport. The purport is given by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. So Shrupad says that there are many social functions for keeping a prestigious position in society. In different countries and societies, there are various festivals and rituals. In India, the father is supposed to get his children married, and when he does so, his responsibility to the family is complete. Yes, so here he says that why? Because in the translation, Srila Shukdev Goswami describe many rituals. मैंने बोला था कि 16 संस्कार होते हैं from the birth to until the अंतिम संस्कार during the death, means after the death. So here Shripad says that to keep a prestigious position in the society, because who don't in the previous era, or the we can say that in थोड़े साल 100-200 साल पहले ये सब कुछ किया जाता था, बिकॉज एवरीथिंग वॉज मैंडेटरी. अभी भी मैंडेटरी है बट कोई करता नहीं है. एंड the people who are in the category of shudras, or even below shudras, they were not doing this, that's why. But the brahmanas, who are really brahmanas at that time, to keep their prestigious position, they had to do every samskaras which have been described by Shri Shukdev Goswami in perfect manner, so that their position, prestigious position of their brahmana or kshatriya or vaishya be maintained in the society. So in different countries and societies there are various festivals and rituals. In India, uh, when a when the father, एक पिता का कब कर्तव्य पूरा होता है, when जब उसके बेटी या बेटे की शादी हो जाने के बाद उसको ऐसा हो जाता है कि हाँ मेरा सब कुछ हो चुका है करके. So Shripaद is saying only this, that supposed to get his children married. When he does so, his responsibility to the family is complete. Arranging marriage is very difficult, especially in these days. At the present moment, no one can perform the proper ritual of sacrifice. Here in the lecture of Amogdila Prabhu, he used an example, a real life example. When a husband, he gave an example, it is a real happen with a devotee, that because after his marriage he came to devotional life. So when he had his marriage with the Mataji, so he had got that CD, तब CD ड्राइव चलता था. So for his मतलब पुरानी यादें ताज़ा करने के लिए उसने देखा होगा. So what happened that when he was listening to the mantras, the purohit or the priest was chanting at that time, ही वो उसको लग रहा था कि मैंने कहाँ पे तो ये सुना है करके, ये सारे मंत्र जहाँ पे पढ़ रहे थे ना, जो पुरोहित, वो कहाँ पे तो मैं सुना है करके. एंड व्हेन ही डीपली कंटेम्पलेटेड ही रियलाइज, अरे मैंने संन्यास के वक्त संन्यास सेरेमनी, कोई महाराज जो संन्यास सेरेमनी हो रहा था तब वो गए होगे. सो ही रियलाइज डेट कि मेरे शादी के वक्त एक पुरोहित ने संन्यास देने वाला मंत्र जप किया था. मतलब व्हेन आहुति, जब वो आहुति दे रहे थे आग में. सो हियर श्रीपाद सेज द सेम थिंग दैट शादी के वक्त संन्यास का मंत्र पढ़ना, मतलब that Purohit was, how much dumb or foolish we can consider that. So yeah, Shripad says the same thing, that at the moment no one can perform the proper ritual of sacrifice, nor can anyone afford to pay for the marriage ceremony of sons and daughters. Therefore, householders are very much distressed, and when they are controlled by these social duties, when they are controlled by these social duties. अभी हम देखते हैं कि एक शादी कराने के लिए भी अभी 50 lakhs to 1 crore टू, कई कई जगह तो मतलब दहेज 50 लाख, पहले कभी कहाँ पे तो दहेज का चलता होगा, राजस्थान बिहार में तो चलता ही है. सो लड़के को दहेज देना है, ये देना है, उसमें 50 lakhs का खर्चा, कपड़े का 50,000, 1-2 लाख कपड़े में जाएंगे. देन फॉर अरेंजिंग तो एवरीथिंग डन, उसमें 1 करोड़, 1.25 करोड़ इसमें चला जाता है. मतलब so much expensive these marriages are happening. So that's why Shripad is saying that all the householders are very much distressed when they are confronted by these social duties. It is as though they were pierced by thorns and hurt by pebbles. Material attachment is so strong that despite the suffering, one cannot give it up. Prahlad Maharaj therefore recommends in Bhagavatam 7th canto, 5th chapter and 5th verse, because the material attachment is so strong. हम देखते हैं कि we everyone in this material world are suffering, but still no one is able to give it up. Why? Because they are not क्या कहते हैं, they are not in, मतलब they are not connected to Krishna consciousness. They don't know that what is the purpose of my life, what, why am I living, what is this body, what am I, who am I करके उनको पता ही नहीं है. They are just living for sake of living. So that's why when they know the purpose, when they would get to know the purpose, that why am I living, what is the purpose of my life, then उनके कैपेबिलिटी के अनुसार वो ये सब मटेरियल activities they would able to give it up. Here Shripad is taking an example of Prahlad Maharaj. Prahlad Maharaj says in this particular verse that हित्वात्मपातं गृहम् अंधकूपं वनं गतो यद धरिम आश्रयेत्य. So here a specific word which is very important, that he says अंधकूपम, गृहम अंधकूपम. this मैंने शायद पहले के श्लोक में एग्जांपल दिया था, that this is like a very deep and अंधकार से भरा हुआ कूपम. कूपम means what? Well. Here Shripad will be saying that the so-called comfortable family position is compared to a dark well in a field. If one falls in a dark well covered by grass, his life is lost, despite his cry for rescue. Highly advanced spiritualists therefore recommend that one should not enter Gṛhastha-āśrama. So, oh Krishna, we must understand this. Who are students like me, they should consider this at their upmost duty. This Gṛhastha-āśrama only, not even Griha are like they are preparing for hell. Shripad is saying that highly advanced spiritualists are recommending that one should not even enter the Gṛhastha-āśrama. It is better to prepare oneself in the brahmachari ashram for austerities and remain a pure brahmachari towards one's life, so that one will not feel the piercing thorns of material life in the Gṛhastha ashrama. So, if we just contemplate on it, His Grace Kesha Anand Prabhu, he gave an example on it that for a fleeting pleasure, for around 3 to 5 seconds, we are ready to become a slave for our whole life to our wife, children, and relatives. For what? A fleeting pleasure of 2 to 5 seconds, and which is popularly known as sex life. So yes, this fleeting pleasure of 2 to 5 seconds, a person is ready to give up his life, give up his life uh, to become a slave of his wife and children and the relatives of one's own self. So Yashirpad says that this becoming slave or feeling the piercing thorns of material life in the Gṛhastha-āśrama, it is better to accept brahmachari ashram in guidance of a spiritual master and highly advanced devotees and conduct the devotional service in their association. In the Grihastha ashram, one has to accept invitations from friends and relatives and perform ritualistic ceremonies. By so doing, one becomes captivated by such things. Although he may not have sufficient resources to continue them, to maintain the Grihastha lifestyle, one has to work very hard to acquire money. Thus, one is implicated in material life and he suffers the thorn pricks. So, this is the same thing Sri Prabhupada is saying. मैं तो इनडायरेक्टली बता दिया कि यस, मतलब इफ वी अंडरस्टैंड दिस कि आफ्टर एंटरिंग द गृहस्थ आश्रम देयर इज नो कमिंग बैक, मतलब है कमिंग बैक है if one accepts that ashram which is vanprastha after age of 50. But it is also very very rare. I am in my life only seen one person who has accepted this vanprastha ashram. But there are many many grihastha devotees I have seen that they are not just accepting the vanprastha ashram, they are still living in their houses. So yes, that is for today's verse. We'll be taking the 19th verse tomorrow. So here Shripad has explained the proper, he has established the brahmacharya ashram, that why a person should accept brahmacharya ashram over grihastha ashram, because it is compared to a andhakupam, which is a very dark well in the field, and if one falls in the field, in that dark well, his life is lost. So Hare Krishna, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srimad Bhagavatam Mahapuran ki jai. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna.